What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over the new Pump and Dump and Outlaw shotguns and their stats and letting you know what I think of them and if I think they're worth using or good in Fortnite Chapter 6 Season 2. As always, if you guys do find this video to be helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below which shotgun is your favorite to use in Season 2. So, the Pump and Dump shotgun is the new shotgun SMG hybrid dual-wield weapon, and I feel like what this weapon is really going for is versatility over either of these weapons being the greatest in class, like a jack of all trades, master of none type thing. You get both a shotgun and an SMG in the same slot, but you get a pretty mid shotgun and a pretty mid SMG in that one slot. Like, neither of them are that great. The shotgun will deal 72 body damage for the common rarity and up to 92 body damage for the mythic, which puts it in third place among the 4 shotguns in the current loot pool, as both the common outlaw shotgun and sentinel pump have a higher base damage than the mythic pump and dump shotgun. Like, that is how kind of mid the damage on this is. So drastic rarity differences on the other ones, and it's still about the same or more damage. And it also has a 0.95 fire rate, which again puts it in third place, having only a slightly higher fire rate than the Sentinel Pump, which has a 0.85 fire rate. So you're third for damage, you're third for fire rate. As far as the shotgun is concerned on its own, not the greatest. The SMG aspect of this weapon is very low damage. It does 10 damage at the common rarity and goes up to 15 for the mythic, increasing by damage by 1 per rarity. And this is much worse than the Precision SMG, which has 15 damage for the common version. So the common Precision SMG has the same base damage as the Mythic Pump and Dumps SMG. They have about the same fire rate at 10 for the Pump and Dump and 10.3 for the Precision SMG. It's about the same. What the Pump and Dump does best as far as stats go is going to be its reload speed. Its reload speed is incredibly fast, and that is very good to have because you're going to be running through the ammo of these weapons pretty quick. And these stats kind of back up what I was saying about this weapon. The two parts of it as individuals are kind of mid. And so being combined together, it sounds insane having a shotgun and an SMG in one, and you get 2 weapons for 1 inventory slot. But what you end up with is 2 kind of not that great weapons in 1 inventory slot. And then they combine to be, you know, maybe something that's good, but not the greatest. And that's kind of how I feel about it. The value in this is mainly just having 2 weapons in 1 slot. The range on this is also quite limited because there's no aim down sight ability, since what would normally be your aim down sight button fires one of the weapons. For me, my L2 shoots the SMG, my R2 shoots the shotgun. And then also the spread on the shotgun is kind of large, and that adds to, you know, range problems and inconsistency. Because the way shotguns work in Fortnite, you shoot a spread of pellets and then you get damage based on how many pellets hit. So if it has a large spread, the likelihood of you hitting a lot of pellets kind of diminishes, and that decreases your damage. I feel like the ideal playstyle for this weapon is pretty obvious. It's just to be somewhat barrel stuffing your opponent and then spamming out spraying both weapons. Initially, what I was doing with this is I was just holding down both the fire buttons at the same time constantly, and then trying to track the enemy as best as I could and keep them within my crosshair throughout the entire duration. But I found more success eventually with just, I would hold down the SMG button the entire fight. I'm just constantly shooting the SMG. And then periodically I would tap the shotgun when I thought it was be ready to shoot again. And I was trying to make sure that my aim was good in that moment to like maximize how much potential I can get out of my shotgun. Because if you're just holding the shoot buttons and the shotgun shoots when it's going to shoot, you might be in a situation where like you knew your aim wasn't that great at that moment, but you were just holding down both shots. So I feel like spraying the SMG, tapping the shotgun when you think it's ready to shoot, making sure you have good aim when your shotgun is shot is very important with this, because as I just kind of touched on, the SMG is not good. It's very mid. And so if you miss a shotgun shot or 2 or get not great damage out of your shotgun, you know, once or twice during the course of a fight, that is probably going to cost you the game. You're in a fight, you're probably only going to get to shoot the shotgun like 2 to 3 times, if that. And if one of those shotgun shots is bad, you're probably going to lose that fight. So make sure you kind of maximize how much damage you get out of the shotgun. This might be something kind of minor that doesn't matter to most players, but I felt like I was getting a lot more value out of this weapon and winning a lot more fights when I was just spraying the SMG the whole time and then making a conscious effort to shoot the shotgun when I thought it was like a good moment and my aim was good in that moment, rather than just kind of holding the triggers for both constantly. Because of the nature of this shotgun though, it really isn't something I want to use at all, because just being extremely close to your opponent like this and using a DPS weapon in very close range means you kind of constantly need to be exposed with the enemy, and then you get in situations where you're just trading damage. When you're using something like the pump, you can kind of peek from behind cover, throw out a pump shot, get back into cover, and then the fact that your damage is more kind of like you throw out damage and then protect yourself makes it to where you end up taking less damage in a fight. You're not just trading damage the entire fight. But with this weapon, I feel like you're going to be opting into a lot of situations where you're just trading damage constantly. And what that means is in most fights, you're probably going to take a good amount of damage. And that leads to you potentially getting third-partied more, or third parties being more problematic. Like the less damage you take in a fight, the more ready you are to deal with third parties. But also it's kind of like a coin flippy playstyle, I feel like, and a lot of times you just could straight up lose those fights. And that's why I don't really like playing like this. I feel like it's just more risky and less consistent, and it's also not a very fun playstyle to me. I talked about this in the update video I made with this weapon. A lot of people were like, oh no, it's just a fun gun. And fun is very subjective. If you have fun with like that, awesome. But like to me, just being close to my opponent and barrel stuffing and not really making much decisions or using my movement much in a fight, that's not very enjoyable. So I did not enjoy using this weapon very much. And if I did kind of want to go for a more just barrel stuff damage trade playstyle, I think I would rather just use the collateral damage AR on its own than use the pump and dump. Like I just didn't care for this weapon much at all. The Outlaw shotgun is a lot better, I think, and I do have a much higher opinion on it. This shotgun has the most base damage among the current shotguns and the second best fire rate. So with the pump and dump, I think it was third in each category out of 4. This is best in damage and second best in fire rate. That sounds incredible, right? It will deal 96 damage to the body for common and 114 for the legendary. This is about like 4 higher damage than the Sentinel pump for most rarity. So it's not really a huge difference, but it is slightly higher. And then its fire rate is 1.4, which is second in class behind the Twin Fire Auto Shotgun's 1.9 and quite a bit higher than the Sentinel Pump's 0.85. So based on stats alone, you would think the Outlaw shotgun is incredible and is going to be the best shotgun in the current loot pool. It's best damage, second best fire rate. That sounds insane, right? The most obvious downside to this weapon, and it does have a few downsides, is going to be that only having 2 rounds in the magazine, similar to the Oni shotgun where you get 2 shots and then you have to reload. That makes it less adaptable and, you know, more problematic if you get third-partied, more problematic if you miss a shot, if anyone's getting away. Anything like that is just more problematic, only having 2 rounds. But also the range and the spread of this shotgun make it very inconsistent unless you were incredibly close to the enemy. And as I kind of touched on earlier with the spread of the weapon, a gun could have incredible damage in theory, but if the spread is so large with a shotgun that you're never actually getting that damage, then it doesn't actually have that damage. And the Outlaw shotgun is kind of in that camp. Its spread is really large, meaning you need to kind of barrel stuff the opponent to get best damage out of the shotgun to actually be hitting hard. And the range is also quite bad. So that again incentivizes you to kind of barrel stuff your opponent. And it also has a pretty low damage cap, ranging from 140 max damage for the common up to 160 max damage for the legendary. So if you hit a perfect headshot, all pellets to the enemy's head with the legendary Outlaw shotgun, you will deal 160 damage. By comparison, the Sentinel pump has a max damage of 170, the common. So the common Sentinel pump has a higher max damage than the gold Outlaw shotgun because of that damage cap. And so if your aim is good and you're going to hit a perfect shot, you're actually going to do more damage with the Sentinel pump than the Outlaw shotgun, despite the Outlaw shotgun seeming on paper to have higher damage. So the damage stat on the Outlaw shotgun is kind of misleading because of that damage cap and because of the poor range and spread. I think the ideal playstyle for the Outlaw shotgun is just kind of barrel stuff your opponent if possible, but just be very close to them. Spam out both your shots and then swap to some sort of spray weapon if needed to finish them. And you're just going to stay on that spray weapon. Like with the Sentinel pump, you kind of juggle back and forth between your spray weapon and your pump. But I feel like the Outlaw shotgun is more of a dump your 2 shots, swap to your spray to finish. And because of this, I much preferred the Hollow Twister AR over the burst when running the Outlaw shotgun. I don't really mind the burst this striker burst. I don't really mind it with the sentinel pump because I can kind of pump, swap to the burst, shoot 2 bursts, swap back to the pump, and I feel like that flow feels good. But if I was just gonna have to like stick on my spray weapon for the remainder of a fight to get the kill, I think the hollow twister AR is better. The collateral damage AR would also be even better, but you know, that isn't as good at medium range, and a lot of players just want to carry 2 weapons. If you like carrying 3 though, the outlaw and collateral damage AR will probably be a pretty nasty combination. So both the outlaw shotgun and the pump and dump shotgun have pretty extreme range limitations and are mostly only effective in like situations where you're very close to the opponent. I say barrel stuffing, that's just when you're so close to them that you're touching them. That's kind of the ideal situation for both of these weapons, right? And normally that would be kind of risky, but not much of a problem. But the reason why I think this is a very severe problem to have in the current loot pool is because of the kneecapper bat. Anytime your outlaw shotgun or your pump and dump is going to be in a good situation for it, is also going to be a very good situation for the bat. And you guys know how the bat is. I know a lot of players struggle to play against this, and one of the main counters to dealing with this melee weapon is not getting incredibly close to your opponent, right? But these weapons kind of force you to get incredibly close to your opponent for them to be effective. And then on top of that, a lot of times the bat player is just going to fling you away and knock you back. And if you're using one of these shotguns, they just easily knock you out of range of your weapon being effective. And I feel like with the sentinel pump, if they do that, you can still kind of hit them good before you're out of, you know, range. But with both the outlaw shotgun and the pump and dump, I felt like anytime I got flung back by the bat, I just wasn't hitting for any relevant amount of damage. And another time where this would be really common is one of the main ways I approach dealing with bat users if they do get close to me is just sprinting into them with the medallion from Fletcher Kane. And a lot of times if I'm using a sentinel pump, I can sprint into them, knock them back, pump them for a good amount of damage before they're out of range, and then swap to my burst to finish. But with both the pump and dump shotgun and the outlaw shotgun, I felt like when I sprinted into bat users to knock them back before they knock me back, I would just hit them for basically nothing with my shotgun. So the main way I kind of counter bat users doesn't work as well with either of these shotguns, and both of these shotguns kind of force you into situations where you're going to be dealing with bat users, or you're like putting yourself in the ideal situation for the bat users. And I feel like if you want to consistently win games and win fights this season, just not being super close to those bat users is one of like the easiest changes you can make to your gameplay to like actually go a long way in improving, you know, how many games you're winning or how many kills you're getting. So that is kind of my main problem with these weapons. Is not only the playstyle is bad, but it forces you into bat range, and then that's also very bad this season. And so that's why I don't care for these weapons as much. But even going over the stats, I really didn't think they were anything too special, and I feel like even if the bat wasn't in the loot pool, I would probably still end up preferring the sentinel pump because its higher damage peak I think is best if your aim is very good. If your aim is good, you're going to hit fat pump shots, you're going to swap to your spray weapon, you're going to do a little bit of damage. And if the enemy isn't dead by then, you're going to swap back to your pump and finish them. And most fights are just going to be that like clockwork. And if you can do that well, you are a problem to deal with. And you can also play a bit more protected with the pump because of the nature of its fire rate, whereas both of these weapons require you to be very close. Even if the bat isn't in play, the enemies are going to be dealing damage to you. And I think that's going to result in you getting third-partied because your fights aren't going to be as clean. And if you do come across like a good opponent that's hitting good shots with the sentinel pump, they're probably going to put you down quick. So I don't really care for either of these shotguns. I think the outlaw shotgun is a lot better than the pump and dump, and I, you know, wouldn't mind using it off spawn. But I think even if the sentinel pump was gone tomorrow, it would be between the twin fire auto shotgun and the outlaw, and I think I might end up preferring the twin fire. But let me know what you guys think of these shotguns down in the comments below. If you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give the video a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below which shotgun is your favorite this season, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.